Hey everybody, welcome back to Chill Vibes Only. Today's video is going to be how to communicate effectively with your partners in your life, the people who you are romantically involved with specifically, but you can also use some of these tips and advice also with friends and family members to just help improve your relationship, to become more secure in your relationships, and to have better effective communication so you're communicating what your wants and needs are in a way that's going to be receptive to the other person, so you're more likely to get what you need from them. So the reason I wanted to film this video was because I actually just read this book. The book is called Attached, and it is basically about the different attachment styles that adults have. And it's based on the way that you're brought up by your parents, or your early childhood development, and then also what you experience in relationships throughout your life. So they say that your attachment style can change every 4 years, but it sometimes just stays the same your whole life. It really just depends on what you're going through and who you are as a person. But this book was like a huge eye-opener to me, and I now, when I see my friends or relationships, or I think about past relationships, I can put the people who I've dated or been involved with in one of these categories, and I can also think about myself and how I've responded in certain situations based off of my own attachment styles. So I think it's really cool. Definitely read the book. It has so much more information. There's basically 3 styles of attachment. So there's secure, which 50% of the population is. Then there's the anxious, which 20 to 25% is. And then avoidant, which is the other 20 to 25%. Most people are a little bit of a combination between 1 or 2. So you could be secure and anxious or secure and avoidant. And then there's a small part of the population, I think it's 10% or something, where you're anxious and avoidant. So really interesting book. Definitely read it. This video is more just about how to effectively communicate based off of your attachment style, and how to learn when someone else has a different attachment style than you, and the reasons why effective communication may not work in those situations, because you can really only effectively communicate with people who are secure or anxious. If someone's avoidant, they're not going to be able to meet you there and address your needs. So I want to talk about ways to identify someone who's avoidant, what you can do in those situations, and then also how to just better effectively communicate to people who are secure and anxious, what your needs are and how you can better improve your relationships and make sure that you guys get what you need and what's going to satisfy you and make you feel awesome. If we look at the 3 different attachment styles, secure people, 50% of the population, basically you're able to express what you need and you want, you can show up for others, you can rely on them. In the book they talk about how important relationships are, and that relationships help us mentally feel safe and secure. They help us achieve our goals. Knowing that you can rely on someone and that they're going to be there for you helps take that stressor off of you, and so you can actually focus on propelling your life and career and goals further ahead. In the book they talk about the avoidants who will use excuses, and I'll kind of get into that later, about how you kind of have to be on your own and you need to be self-sufficient and you have to have self-love and you have to be completely, totally fine on your own before you can be in a relationship with someone. And I don't think that's true anymore based off of this book. I think that relationships are super important, and they're what give us that grounding sense of security so that we can actually do the other amazing things in our life that we want to work on, because we feel secure in our deepest, most connected relationships. So I'm just going to quickly go over the 3 attachment styles, just to give you guys a little bit of back reference. So the first one is secure. Basically you're able to just effectively communicate your needs. As a child you felt like you were self-sufficient, but you could rely on your parents for support. In your relationships you have no problem communicating when you need something from them, and you know that your partner is going to respect you and going to work with you to make sure that your needs are met. You don't feel anxious, or you're not trying to leave your partner or be distant from them. You're very content and happy. Obviously you have your own things going on in your life, but your relationship is still an important part of your life and you work on it with that person. If you are anxious, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I am a little bit anxious myself. There's a quiz in the book that you can actually do that will say what attachment style you are, and then there's also a quiz where you can see what your partner's attachment style is. But yeah, if you're a bit anxious, basically you just need that reassurance from your partner that they're going to be there and show up for you. Anxious people tend to fall into the trap of protest behavior, and what that means is when your needs aren't being met. So say you need your partner to reach out to you once a day just to check in. First of all, completely valid thing to need and want. And if your partner isn't doing that, or maybe they're avoidant and they're not validating your needs, it can cause you to go into like this anxious spiral, and then you do protest behavior. So maybe you're super snappy with them when they do call, or you give them the silent treatment, or you say that you've already made plans, or you just ignore them for a few days, or you try to get them jealous by talking to someone else. Those are all behaviors that you want to become aware of if you're anxious, because when you start to react in protest behavior, that's when you want to hit pause and think about how you can effectively communicate instead. So an anxious person, they do have a lot of love to give. They definitely want to be in a relationship. They see the value and importance in relationships, but in the relationship, they need to feel like their needs are being respected and met in order to feel comfortable and to be able to relax and to actually become more secure. So effective communication is going to be huge for these people. Avoidant people, honestly, from what I read in the book, if you're avoidant, you're the type of person who thinks that you don't have time for relationships. Relationships are going to get in the way of your career goals and success. If your partner reaches out to you and asks you for something, you often belittle them. You try to create as much distance as possible. You can have really nice, awesome, intimate moments, but then the next day you're pushing the person away, and you're off on your own again. You can be very, very nonchalant. These are what I would like to call like our fuck boys, our let's keep this casual boys. These guys are people who aren't interested in a relationship and are just going to set the relationship terms on their terms and not consider your needs or what you want. So obviously an anxious and avoidant mix is not a good combo at all. It's going to cause you so much stress and turmoil in your life. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, my partner disvalues my needs, they are constantly distant with me, they don't make plans with me in advance, they say that they're too busy for a relationship, take that as a huge red flag and sign and try to get out of there. If you find yourself saying those things to people, maybe start to read the book and see if you do have avoidant tendencies, and maybe go to therapy and work on that, because relationships are important. They're what's going to help you propel forward. They're not going to get in the way of it. So you have to kind of change your belief system and become more open to that, and work on that. And from what I read, therapy is the best way to do that. So if any of this stuff is kind of like sparking your interest, or being like, oh, that's definitely my partner, that's definitely me, totally read this book, because it's going to be eye-opening. So yeah, basically those are the different types of attachment styles. So the way to become more secure if you're anxious or avoidant, or to keep being secure if you're secure, is to use effective communication. So for example, say you're an anxious person, and you want your significant other to make plans with you in advance. You just can't have the last minute phone calls and the last minute texts. It causes you a little bit of anxiety. Instead of getting snappy at them when they do call you to make plans and saying you're busy when you're actually not, or calling them 100 times throughout the day trying to get an answer out of them, or ignoring them and giving them the silent treatment, which is protest behavior, you can use effective communication. So you can say something like, hey, it really unsettles me when I don't know when I'm going to see you next. It would help me feel a bit more secure in our relationship if I could at least have a ballpark of like when we're going to see each other this week. And if your partner is secure and they're understanding, they will respect your needs. If you get someone who is like, you're crazy, I shouldn't have to make plans with you in advance, or like belittles what you need or what you want, and doesn't validate your needs or wants or your opinion, and doesn't respect it, that is a huge red flag. Leave that relationship, that person. Obviously, if it's something that happens over and over again, it's just showing you that they are not going to be able to be there for you in a relationship, and they're not going to be able to respect your needs, and it's going to cause you so much stress, it's going to cause you so much emotional pain, and it's not worth it. So when you effectively do communicate to someone, make sure that your partner is respecting what you've said and at least tries to make an effort to do that, or to acknowledge what you said, even if it's like, hey, well, you know, my schedule is really off the wall right now with work. It's super busy. I don't know when things are going to come up, but I totally get that that's really unsettling for you. And when I can, I'm going to do my best to schedule things in. And if I have to change it, I'll let you know as soon as I know that I have to change it. Will that make you feel better? And that's a really great example of effective communication, because your partner has understood that, hey, you just need that reassurance if you know when they're going to when you're going to see them next, and they're offering a solution to do that. That's one example. Now say if you're an avoidant person and maybe you're going through therapy and you're working on your avoidance styles, and you feel like your partner is just kind of breathing down your throat and you just want some space, instead of snapping at them, calling them obsessive or insane, or doing any of your kind of like avoidant tendencies of blaming the other person and making them feel not great, acknowledge that that's showing up for you, and you can say to them, hey, right now, I just feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I just need to take some space. I need just a couple days to myself. Can I reach back out to you at X time, and maybe we can have like an intimate date night that night? I just need some time to like be on my own and to like get some alone time as I work through like needing someone and relying on someone. Again, you're effectively communicating to your partner that like you understand that you're trying to change these avoidant tendencies, but you do need space in order to work on them. And your partner, again, if they respect you and they are secure, they're going to acknowledge that and say, yeah, no worries, I can give you your space. I'm here if you need me, but I do want to continue to work on this because I can't keep having you ghost out every single week for a few days. I need you to be just as part of this relationship. So there are just ways that you can communicate. Obviously, when you're using effective communication, you want to be speaking from I feel statements. You don't want to be blaming someone or saying you do this and you do that. You want to just say, hey, like, this is how it's affecting me. It would really help me if we did this instead, or I would really feel like you're supporting me in this relationship if you were able to do this. And just be aware of how your partner responds to you and see if they're being avoidant or anxious or secure, and then make note of that and decide if this is someone who you want to invest your time and energy in, because your relationships are so freaking important. They are a huge factor on your mental health, and if you're happy and secure and content, and they affect the way that you're able to show up in all the other places in your life. So don't let someone tell you that relationships aren't important. Make sure that the ones that you are in are being treated respectfully, and that you're a priority, and that your needs are being listened to and met. And if they're not, make active changes, either using effective communication or leaving the relationship to try to fix those things and evolve it. And be aware of your own tendencies as well. So effective communication, just summarizing it here, you're basically just clearly stating what you need and you want. You're not blaming, and you're not letting that person, after you've said it, manipulate you into thinking that your needs are not valid. They are 150% valid. I want to give one last example, because I think this is like a common thing, especially for young people going through university. I definitely experienced this, where you kind of get into this like something casual situation with another partner, and one of you might be a little anxious and not realize it, and you want that security, and the other person's super avoidant and they're just flaky all the time, and you feel like you're playing all these mind games of like, I'm going to text you back 20 minutes longer than it took you to text me, and all this kind of stuff, and it just creates so much stress, and I wouldn't do that. I would say if you're in one of those something casual or weird line blurred situations, tell that person, hey, I get that you might not want to be committed right now, but in order to have access to me and access to my energy, I need to know when we're going to hang out. It's really important for me to get back to you when you message me in a reasonable time, and so I want that to be an important factor for you as well. Again, if someone's secure, they'll understand that and they'll adjust their behavior. If they're avoidant, they're gonna belittle you and make you feel like shit about it. And then just ask yourself if you want to bring that toxic energy in your life, if you want to deal with all that stress, or maybe if you want to try to find someone else who can meet your needs and who does respect your needs, because there are so many people out there who can do that. And don't fall into the trap that this is your one and only person if they're not fulfilling you in the way that you want. So that's how you can effectively communicate with your partner or with someone who you are getting romantically involved with. As I said before, definitely read this book. It was so mind-opening to me, and it definitely changed the way that I am communicating in my relationships. I am becoming more comfortable being secure and saying what I need, and noticing how the person responds to when I ask for what I need, and using that as my guiding light of if I'm going to invest more time and energy in this person, because it really matters for your mental health and your own personal well-being. So definitely make it a priority. Definitely feel like you have agency and ownership in your relationships relationships in your life to make these calls and to demand you're treated and respected the way that you would treat and respect other people in your life. So I hope you guys liked today's video. Please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe because that really helps this channel, and I will see you again for another video shortly.